The Baltimore Ravens opened their season with what can only be described as a complete meltdown, a disaster of epic proportions that left fans speechless, players stunned, and critics absolutely ruthless. Leading 40-25 late in the fourth quarter against the Buffalo Bills, Baltimore somehow managed to collapse and lose the game 41-40. And when we say collapse, we're not talking about a few missed tackles or a dropped pass. This was a full-blown identity crisis from a team that was supposed to be one of the most disciplined and talented in the league. And just minutes after the final whistle, legendary defensive back Rodney Harrison didn't hold back. He unleashed a scathing critique of John Harbaugh and the Ravens, and honestly, he was spot on. Harrison called out everything from the coaching decisions to the team's overall mindset. And if you've been following this team closely, his words probably echoed what you've already been thinking. They get comfortable, he said. They need that head coach to continue to put pressure on them. That comes from the top. And man, does it ever. For years now, the Ravens have been building a reputation, not as the hard-nosed, finish-strong, all-gas no-breaks team we once knew, but as a squad that can't seem to hold a lead when it matters most. 17 blown double-digit leads in the second half since John Harbaugh took over, more than any other coach since at least 1991. Let that sink in. This isn't a fluke anymore. This isn't bad luck. This is who they are until they prove otherwise. This particular game was the perfect storm. They were dominant for most of the night. Lamar Jackson was efficient and electric, completing 14 of 19 passes for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. He added another 70 on the ground and looked in complete control. Zay Flowers was torching defenders all night long, posting a career-high 143 yards and a touchdown. Derrick Henry was rolling. The offensive line was creating lanes. The Ravens were in command. And then, just like that, they weren't. Buffalo went on to score 22 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. Let me repeat that, 22 points in one quarter. Long, methodical, surgical drives. No exotic looks from the defense. No pressure on Josh Allen. Just soft zone coverage and four-man rushes, as if Baltimore thought they could coast to the finish line. Harrison called it out immediately, saying the defense looked vanilla and predictable, and he wasn't wrong. Allen had clean pockets, clear reads, and wide-open receivers. It was as if the Ravens stopped trying to win and just started hoping the clock would save them. And let's not pretend this is just about Zach or Todd Monken. This is about John Harbaugh. This is about leadership. This is about a team that once had a killer instinct and now plays scared when it's time to close. Harbaugh's fingerprints are all over this team. The philosophy, the decision-making, the late-game approach, it all traces back to him. And whether it's clock mismanagement, poor adjustments, or just plain stubbornness, the issues continue to surface at the worst possible times. Lamar Jackson, to his credit, didn't shy away from it. After the game, he admitted the team needs to finish. He stressed that the game isn't over until the clock hits triple zeros. And even though he was dealing with cramps late in the game and had to jog off the field on a critical 4th and 3, he made it clear that, had he been healthy, he would have pushed to go for it. That's the mindset you want from your quarterback. He wants the ball in his hands when it matters most. He wants to close. The coaching staff, though, they're too busy playing it safe, and safe doesn't cut it in the NFL. Not when you're facing a quarterback like Josh Allen, and certainly not when you're trying to prove that this year is different from the ones before. Rodney Harrison didn't just stop at Harbaugh. He called out the players too. Jair Alexander was put on blast for being unprepared and outmatched. Certain guys, you just can't play, Harrison said. And again, he was right. Alexander looked lost out there. He missed key assignments, gave up big plays, and on the Bills' final drive, he made one of the most basic mental errors a defender can make. He tackled a receiver near the goal line when the smarter play would have been to let him score. That gave Buffalo the chance to run the clock down and kick a game-winning field goal, which they did with ease. On that final drive, the Ravens' defense offered no resistance. Josh Allen marched the Bills down the field like he was playing on air. Short passes, quick outs, broken coverages, it was all there. Baltimore looked defeated before the game was even over. You could feel it. The energy was gone. The urgency vanished. It was like the whole sideline had already checked out. And that brings us back to the mindset. The Ravens don't know how to finish. They don't know how to step on a team's throat and end a game. They get up by 2 possessions and suddenly decide to get conservative. The offense stops attacking. The defense plays not to lose. And inevitably, they do. Kyle Hamilton echoed this frustration after the game. He said the team spent the entire offseason talking about how things were going to be different. New year, new team, new mindset. And yet, here they are, back in the same place, making the same mistakes, saying the same things. I looked up and saw they had 400 passing yards, Hamilton said. I felt like I was about to throw up. And how could you blame him? They talked all offseason about how they were going to learn from last year, about how those collapses were a thing of the past, about how this team had matured. But when the lights came on, they reverted to the same habits, the same conservative approach, the same inability to close the door. It's not just one game. It's a pattern. Since 2021, the Ravens have lost 8 games where they held a win probability of over 90% at some point. That's not just the worst in the league. It's 3 more than the next closest team. These aren't just losses. These are collapses. These are missed opportunities that define seasons and cost you playoff positioning, or even playoff appearances altogether. And now, after just one game, Baltimore is already playing from behind in the standings. The Bills hold the head-to-head tiebreaker, which could come back to haunt the Ravens down the road. It's not just a one-game loss. It's the kind of defeat that shifts momentum, creates doubt, and forces a team to re-examine everything they thought they knew about themselves. Rodney Harrison might have sounded harsh, but sometimes the truth needs to be. This isn't just about one game. It's about a culture that, for all its talent, can't seem to rise to the occasion when the stakes are highest. The Ravens are good enough to build leads. They're talented enough to hang with anyone. But they're not mentally tough enough, at least not yet, to close games consistently. While the first part of the story focuses on the collapse itself and the criticism from Rodney Harrison, the second chapter begins with Lamar Jackson, the leader, the face of the franchise, the man who did everything in his power to win that game and still walked away with nothing but frustration. His performance against the Bills wasn't just good, it was near flawless. 14 completions on 19 attempts, over 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 70 more on the ground, and a rushing score to cap it off. He did exactly what franchise quarterbacks are supposed to do. He moved the ball, kept drives alive, made plays with his legs when protection broke down, and threw darts downfield when receivers got separation. He looked locked in command, in rhythm. But even the best quarterbacks can't win when their team crumbles around them. And that's what happened. The momentum shifted late in the game, and instead of doubling down and letting Lamar take over, like we've seen countless teams do with their elite signal callers, the Ravens flinched. The play calling became tentative. The aggression disappeared. The urgency vanished. And Lamar, after the game, made it clear that he wanted more. Not in a disrespectful way, not by throwing coaches under the bus, but by speaking the truth. He acknowledged that he didn't want to come off the field on that 4th and 3, but he was cramping and physically couldn't keep going. Had he been able to stay in, he would have lobbied hard to go for it. That tells you everything you need to know about Lamar's mentality. He's a closer. He's a competitor. He wanted the dagger. And this team, instead, chose to play it safe and got burned again. When you go back and look at the final sequence of events, it's staggering how predictable it was. The Ravens had a chance to ice the game. One more drive, one more conversion, one more stop, and they couldn't do it. They punted the ball back to Josh Allen, a quarterback known for thriving in chaos, with plenty of time and a defense that had completely lost its edge. What followed wasn't a surprise. It was the logical result of poor preparation, conservative philosophy, and a refusal to adapt when things started slipping away. And the defense? It was like watching a bad rerun. No pressure. No disguise, just soft, conservative coverage that allowed Allen to pick them apart, one throw at a time. The Bills' final drive wasn't some miracle. It was a step-by-step demolition. You could feel it coming. You could see it unfolding in slow motion, and yet the Ravens did nothing to stop it. Josh Allen saw the same defensive look over and over. 2 safeties deep, no motion, no disguise. It was as if Baltimore had decided that the best way to stop a top-5 quarterback was to just hope he made a mistake. That's not coaching. That's fear. And fear has no place in the 4th quarter of an NFL game. Rodney Harrison called this out directly, saying that when you're facing a guy like Allen, you can't give him the same look every snap. You have to move your safeties. You have to bring pressure. You have to make him think. Instead, Baltimore made it easy for him. just like they did in past collapses against Miami, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, you name it. It's a pattern, and the league knows it. The Ravens don't finish. They don't adjust. They play not to lose. And the locker room feels it. After the game, Kyle Hamilton was visibly shaken. His words weren't just emotional. They were honest, raw, frustrated. He talked about how the team had spent all offseason saying things would be different. New year, new team, new approach. But nothing changed. We're saying something different, he said, but we're doing the same things. That quote says everything. The Ravens tried to convince themselves they had evolved, but when the lights were the brightest, they reverted to form. Hamilton also spoke about the moment he saw the Bills' passing yard total, over 400 yards, and felt physically sick. That's not just about stats. That's about pride. That's about a defense that was once feared around the league now becoming one that folds when it matters most. The old Ravens used to force turnovers late, send the house, and knock quarterbacks into next week. This version drops back into soft zones and waits for the other team to score. It's hard to know where things go from here. Because the truth is, this team is talented, really talented. On paper, they're one of the best rosters in football. But talent means nothing without execution, and execution won't matter without urgency. And urgency is what's missing. It's not about scheme. It's not about play design. It's about attitude, about mentality, about refusing to let go of the rope when things get tight. Right now, this team is lacking that killer instinct. They're lacking that voice that says, not today, not again. We're shutting this thing down. And that voice has to come from the top. John Harbaugh has had an incredible career. He's won a Super Bowl. He's built a winning culture. But lately, the same issues continue to haunt him. Poor clock management, late-game collapses, and conservative decision-making have become the new normal. And in today's NFL, that's a death sentence. Teams don't sit on leads anymore. They go for the jugular. They stay aggressive. They play to win. And until the Ravens embrace that philosophy, they'll keep falling into the same trap. There were moments in that game where you could feel the energy shift. A missed block here. A fumble there. A penalty at the worst possible time. Everything added up. Derrick Henry, who had an outstanding night with over 100 rushing yards and a touchdown, had the costly fumble that gave Buffalo life. But even after that, the game was still in Baltimore's hands. And they let it go. Again, Zay Flowers was a bright spot. He looked like a number one wideout, making big plays, creating separation, and showing poise well beyond his years. His connection with Lamar is only going to grow. DeAndre Hopkins had one of the best catches of the season so far, a one-handed snag in the end zone that showed why the Ravens brought him in. There were a lot of offensive positives, but when the fourth quarter started, it all disappeared. The offense stalled, the playbook shrunk, and the defense broke. Even the special teams, which used to be Baltimore's bread and butter, had a shaky night. A missed extra point, poor kickoff coverage, and a failure to flip field position when it mattered most. Every phase of the game took a step back when it needed to step forward. And then there's the fan frustration. You could feel it in the stadium. You could hear it online. This wasn't just a regular loss. This was a gut punch. And then, to make matters worse, players were getting disrespected by opposing fans after the game. Bottles thrown, shoves, slaps. Lamar Jackson got shoved. Derrick Henry had something thrown at him. Hopkins took a slap to the helmet. It was classless, completely unacceptable. And yet, Lamar still took the high road, saying he would try not to let it happen again, as if he was somehow at fault for being assaulted after a heartbreaking loss. That's the kind of leader he is. But he shouldn't have to carry this alone. The Ravens have to take a hard look in the mirror. They need to decide what kind of team they want to be. Do they want to be the team that jumps out early and holds on for dear life? Or do they want to be the kind of squad that closes, that dominates for all 60 minutes, that punches back when the pressure rises? Because right now, they're stuck in the middle, talented enough to build a lead, undisciplined enough to lose it, and too hesitant to get it back once it slips away. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And, hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens reportedly pulled off one of the most stunning acquisitions in recent memory. Sources close to the team claim that star linebacker Micah Parsons, the dynamic force from the Dallas Cowboys, is set to join the Ravens in what could be the most talked-about trade of the season. The news, still unofficial, has ignited a firestorm of speculation across social media and sports talk shows, with fans and analysts alike struggling to wrap their heads around the possibility. Parsons, known for his relentless pass-rushing ability and game-changing presence on defense, has been a cornerstone for the Cowboys since entering the league. His blend of speed, strength, and football IQ makes him one of the most feared defenders in the NFL, and his potential move to Baltimore could dramatically shift the balance of power in the AFC. For a franchise like the Ravens, already known for their aggressive defensive schemes and commitment to dominance on that side of the ball, adding Parsons could elevate the team to an entirely new level. The rumored deal, details of which remain under wraps, has already sparked debate over how the Ravens plan to integrate Parsons into their system. Some insiders suggest he could instantly become the centerpiece of Baltimore's defensive strategy, while others speculate that the move could also impact the team's cap space and future draft plans. Meanwhile, Cowboys fans are left in disbelief, as Parsons has been not just a player but a symbol of the franchise's defensive identity. The possibility of losing him has ignited a mix of frustration and resignation among the Dallas faithful, who have long admired his intensity and leadership. While no official announcement has been made, the buzz is undeniable. Analysts are already drawing comparisons to some of the league's biggest blockbuster trades, and the conversation now revolves around whether the Ravens' defense could reach unprecedented heights with Parsons on board. Rumors suggest that the deal could be finalized quickly, possibly before the next NFL matchup, making the upcoming games an even hotter topic for speculation. As the story develops, fans on both sides are bracing for impact. For Baltimore, it could mean a new era of defensive dominance, while Dallas faces the daunting challenge of filling the void left by one of its brightest stars. One thing is certain: if the rumors hold true, the NFL landscape may never look the same again. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.